Death warmed over. She heard insects scurrying above her in the darkness, smelled burned flesh, and felt a heavy weight pressing down on her back. Oh my God, he's buried me alive! Her face was pressed against something hard and cold. Stone, she thought, until she smelled the oil in the asphalt. Panic seized her, and she struggled to get her hands under her. Her left hand lit up with pain as she pushed. There was a rattle and a deafening clang, and she was standing. The dumpster that had been on her back lay overturned, spilling trash across the alley. She looked at it in disbelief. It must have weighed a ton. Fear and adrenaline, she thought. Then she looked at her left hand and screamed. It was horribly burned, the top layer of skin black and cracked. She ran out of the alley looking for help, but the street was empty. I've got to get to a hospital. Call the police. She spotted a payphone. A red chimney of heat rose from the lamp above it. She looked up and down the empty street. Above each streetlight, she could see heat rising in red waves. She could hear the buzzing of the electric bus wires above her, the steady stream of the sewers running under the street. She could smell dead fish and diesel fuel in the fog, the decay of the Oakland mudflats across the bay, old French fries, cigarette butts, bread crusts and fetid pastrami from a nearby trash can, and the residual odor of Aramis wafting under the doors of the brokerage houses and banks. She could hear wisps of fog brushing against the buildings like wet velvet. It was as if her senses, like her strength, had been turned up by adrenaline. She shook off the spectrum of sounds and smells and ran to the phone, holding her damaged hand by the wrist. As she moved, she felt a roughness inside her blouse against her skin. With her right hand, she pulled at the silk, yanking it out of her skirt. Stacks of money fell out of her blouse to the sidewalk. She stopped and stared at the bound blocks of $100 bills lying at her feet. She thought, there must be $100,000 here. A man attacked me, choked me, bit my neck, burned my hand, then stuffed my shirt full of money, and put a dumpster on me, and now I can see heat and hear fog. I've won Satan's lottery. She ran back to the alley, leaving the money on the sidewalk. With her good hand, she riffled through the trash spilled from the dumpster until she found a paper bag. Then she returned to the sidewalk and loaded the money into the bag. At the payphone, she had to do some juggling to get the phone off the hook and dialed without putting down the money and without using her injured hand. She pressed 911, and while she waited for it to ring, she looked at the burn. Really, it looked worse than it felt. She tried to flex the hand, and black skin cracked. Boy, that should hurt. It should gross me out, too, she thought. But it doesn't. In fact, I don't really feel that bad, considering. I've been more sore after a game of racquetball with Kurt. Strange. The receiver clicked, and a woman's voice came on the line. Hello. You've reached the number for San Francisco Emergency Services. If you are currently in danger, press 1. If the danger has passed, and you still need help, press 2. Jody pressed 2. If you have been robbed, press 1. If you've been in an accident, press 2. If you've been assaulted, press 3. If you are calling to report a fire, press 4. If you've... Jody ran the choices through her head and pressed 3. If you've been shot, press 1. Stabbed, press 2. Raped, press 3. All other assaults, press 4. If you'd like to hear these choices again, press 5. Jody meant to press 4, but hit 5 instead. There was a series of clicks and the recorded voice came back on. Hello. You've reached the number for San Francisco Emergency Services. If you are currently in danger... Jody slammed the receiver down, and it shattered in her hand, nearly knocking the phone off the pole. She jumped back and looked at the damage. Adrenaline, she thought. I'll call Kurt. He can come get me and take me to the hospital. She looked around for another payphone. There was one by her bus stop. When she reached it, she realized that she didn't have any change. Her purse had been in her briefcase, and her briefcase was gone.